If you are currently working with an account executive that is challenging or frustrating to work with, then this video is for you. So there are a couple things that you can certainly attempt to do first before trying to tattletale on your account executive. Some things that are truly in your control to try to change for the better. A very common misconception when it comes to the dynamic between an account executive and a BDR is that you work for them. I don't know where this dynamic came from. It might just be hierarchy, who knows. Yes, they do have more experience than you. Yes, they might have had a similar position to you in the past, but that does not make them your boss in any way. I think it's important to regain control of your domain in the business development realm. And so that being said, a proactive tip that I can submit for your consideration is before your next one-on-one, if you are in a partnership where perhaps your account executive has a tendency to want to talk or plan out your weekly one-on-ones with them, I'm going to ask you to try to plan out your next one-on-one with them. Try to take control of that conversation and that one-on-one agenda. I can tell you right now that if you show up or ahead of time, if you say, hey, account executive Joe Smith, I'd love to actually take the time to plan out what we're going to cover during our next one-on-one. It'll still, of course, we'll still leave plenty of room to cover any topics that you wanted to discuss with me, but I do want to go ahead and take a stab at spearheading and driving our next one-on-one and show them what you got. And I think in just taking that small bit of initiative, it'll allow them to see how you are excited to bring in some talking points to the next one-on-one. So what do you do when, let's say, perhaps you've tried to be the bigger person and you've planned out and been very proactive in planning out your next couple one-on-ones with your account executive and they're still a bit unresponsive, perhaps they no-show to a couple of your one-on-ones, all the things that are a bit frustrating. Well, rule number one is to first and foremost try to address it with the account executive directly. I think this is an unspoken expectation that I'd love for us to just try to get into the habit of doing, which is if you're frustrated by something that a colleague is doing, try to address it head on with that individual. Sometimes it's in their blind spot where they can't notice that this is frustrating you, and you staying quiet about it is not gonna fix the problem. So that being said, I would challenge you during that next one-on-one that you have with them is to address it. Just say, hey, could I give you some feedback? Or hey, there's been something that's been weighing on my heart or it's been heavy on my mind that I'd love to address with you directly. It's all about how you go about positioning whatever's been frustrating you, right? And so if you come at it from more of perhaps a sandwich approach, which is one of my favorite things, lessens the blow a little bit, but try to come at it from a sandwich approach. Good, bad, good. What's something great that you love about your account executive? What's something that you feel like they could easily try to improve on once you bring it to their attention? And again, wrap it up with something good that you really appreciate about them. In delivering that feedback to them directly, it allows them, especially if it's in their blind spot, to try to fix it. Because again, they might have not known that it's something that has been frustrating you. So what do you do when at this point you've spoken to the person individually and nothing has changed? Well, step 2 at this point is to talk to your manager. At that point, River, you got to talk to your manager if for whatever reason things have not gotten better. By talking to your manager, it actually can do a couple different things, right? Number one, they can offer you some feedback or some advice on how to navigate the situation a little bit better. Maybe you're so close to the fire that you're just frustrated at this point, and they can give you some good proper tools or talk tracks on how to navigate that conversation a little bit better. But most importantly, now your manager is aware of some frustrations or roadblocks that you might be experiencing in regards to that partnership. So it's always good for them to also be in the loop. You've gone to your manager and the problem has continued. So at this point, they've even disregarded your manager's advice. Well, the next step that you can try to help out this situation is invite your manager to sit in on your next one-on-one. Hopefully having a manager's presence in that one-on-one can hopefully shift how your account executive might be engaging with you. So perhaps by having your manager on the call, it's less about intimidating the account executive, but more so just to show that we've got alignment all together. And maybe having your manager speak on your behalf on just some of the strategies that you might be frustrated with, or things involving your account executive that you might not be seeing eye to eye on. Perhaps hearing it from a different perspective can help. And lastly, at this point, you're trying everything. Well, my last piece of advice is, even after maybe your manager jumps in and tries to help out with that following one-on-one and hopefully level setting on your behalf, maybe nothing has changed at that point. Well, at that point, your manager has probably spoken to the account executive's sales manager to try to rectify it on the back end. But last thing that you could essentially do until, hopefully things get better, is to keep documenting everything. And so one thing that I love to encourage my reps to do is, after weekly one-on-ones with their account executives, doing a quick recap email to the account executive, to their manager, and then to the BDR manager, just having all stakeholders on that email, just so you can properly track areas of opportunity, roadblocks, challenges, action items from the BDs or the AE's perspective, just kind of documenting it. Takes 5 minutes to draw up a quick recap email, but again, just documenting everything allows you to cover your tail. So the last thing that I'll add to this topic is just understanding that sometimes conflict is a part of the process. You've got two very powerful presence that are in a partnership. Ego sometimes gets in the way. Miscommunication sometimes gets in the way. And so you got to keep in mind that through all of this, you're going to learn a ton about yourself and how to work with different personality types. So I'd encourage you to look at conflict from a positive lens, positive perspective, and just how you can get better at conflict resolution. Just because, like I said, you're never going to see eye to eye with every person that you work with. But at the end of the day, if you're able to, in a healthy manner, resolve that conflict, I think that should be the end goal. If you got a tip or two from this video, per usual, go ahead and subscribe to the channel for some more business development tips. I will catch you next time.